Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel and welcome to week 18 of 2021's GT Sport Daily Race C Strategy Guide. It is a very familiar combo this week. It's Group 2 machinery at Fuji International Speedway. So let's take a look at the detailed settings for this one. 13 laps to get round, fuel consumption at times 3, tyre wear at a rather scary times 13. We have the medium and the hard tyre available, so both of them are going to be mandatory, so at least there's going to be a decent element of strategy in there. But yeah, this is a very familiar combo. I reckon I've actually covered this race with these exact settings at least 3 times previously on the channel, but I was looking back through the videos and I think when it was actually had these settings was actually 9 months ago, so I wasn't going to do a guide for it. I was just going to kind of refer back to them. I decided we've had quite a number of new subscribers over the past few months, why not put a guide together for some of the newer folk out there, and it should be useful as well just for anyone who has been a long term channel subscriber. So let's lay down a hard tyre marker. This is where I kind of set a few lap times on the hard tyres, give myself an idea of what kind of lap time I can get out of them, and then when I move on to the medium tyres and start doing the full strategy runs, I've got an idea of what sort of lap time is going to be optimal to get into those pits and get onto the other type of tyre. So with that in mind, we did a 132.4. That was our optimal as well. So that was the benchmark as we moved on to the medium tyres. And we'll go check out the performance of them in comparison to the hard tyres and what sort of life we're going to get out of them with tyre wear at times 13. So we're doing this strategy guide here, or these test runs within the lobby settings. Custom race only lets you go up to 10 times tyre wear, so with 13 times tyre wear we have to go into the lobby to do the testing here, so we won't get an accurate reflection of the finishing time, and we'll also need to check the pit loss in a different fashion. But there we go, first flying lap on the medium tyres, a 1.3 second difference to our hard tyre benchmark. Moving on to our second flying lap, and you can see there's been a big decrease in the tyre performance, only 0.7 of a second ahead of the hard tyre. And as we move on to lap number 4, we're only actually a couple of attempts quicker. So you can see quite heavy tyre degradation on these medium tyres. Not exactly surprising with tyre wear at times 13. So coming to the end of lap number 5, we're actually going to go slower than our hard tyre benchmark, just by a tenth, but definitely starting to struggle on these tyres now. 132.5 for lap number 5, actually 1.4 seconds slower than our quickest lap. So we have decided it is now time to pit. We'll fast forward through lap number 6 here. We're going to set something very similar to lap number 5, I think, going by the deltas. But into the pits we'll come now, taking a look at these tyres after 6 laps, just give you an idea on the tyre wear. Looking at around about 40% on those left hand side tyres. I always say the medium tyres around about 30%, and you really are going to start to see big degradation in your lap time. But into the pits will come, give us an idea of that pit loss and fuel. Fuel is going to be no issue whatsoever. Again, I say it all the time, no surprise really. They don't seem to want to be giving us any kind of fuel limited race within the daily race C at the moment. Maybe something they could do just to shake things up a little bit. Out of the pits will come though, the pit loss coming in at 18 seconds, maybe not as high as you would expect. Group 2 obviously a little bit quicker than Group 3, and Group 3 a little bit quicker than Group 4. But 18 seconds is definitely enough time to sort of find yourself some clear space on the track though, and that's going to be vital in this one, because trying to follow some of these cars in Group 2 in the dirty air on a track like this, especially if you catch up with somebody in the twisty section we're about to go into now, you can lose a lot of time. So it's going to be quite critical to try and get some clear space if you're going to try and make the best use of your tyres. But onto the hard tyres we are now. Let's take a look at the performance and the lifespan of these hard tyres, and you can see performance pretty steady throughout the stint here on the hard tyres. We're actually going to go a little bit slower here on the last lap, but sort of ranging from a sort of mid 32s all the way through, setting a 32.0 on lap number 9. But you can see every single one of those lap times is just about quicker than our last flying lap on the mediums. So lap 6 definitely looks like around about the optimal time to be changing from the mediums on to the hard tyres. Across the line we come here, complete this run. As I said, we're just doing this in sort of practice sessions, so there's no finishing time to take a look at. just pulling off to the left hand side there. I think we bring up the fuel. You can see we finished with 25% fuel, so again, fuel no issue whatsoever. And you're going to finish with round about a quarter of a tank. So let's move on to that stage of the video where we put all the data up on the screen and just discuss some of the things that we've already found out and kind of go through the pros and cons of each of the strategies. Now it's fairly straightforward, this one, in all honesty. It's just going to be a one-stop strategy. It's actually a little bit disappointing because under the old pit loss, which I always thought was a little bit unrealistic, this was actually quite a nice race between the one-stop and the two-stop. That's obviously a thing of the past now with the extended pit loss, which is obviously more realistic. And I am a fan of that because I quite like the fact that you can find some clear track rather than kind of pitting, losing 7 seconds and then coming straight back out into traffic and sometimes not being able to make the best use of your fresh tyres. But yeah, it's going to be a one stop. If you're starting on the medium tyres, which you're probably going to do if you're maybe in the first 4 or 5 cars, you're going to get around about 6 laps out of those tyres. It's all about saving those tyres over the early stages. Try and make them last as much as possible so you get a little bit of an advantage over some of your competitors towards the end of the stint. 6 laps is probably the maximum you're going to get, even if you're very good at tyre saving. Some of the pad players out there are going to struggle quite badly in this one, especially come around about laps 4 and 5, unfortunately. And again, it's maybe a little bit of a negative of losing that two-stop strategy option. That was definitely something that could help the pad players under the old pit loss. But 6 laps on the medium tyres, moving on to the hard tyres. The hard tyres will be pretty steady throughout that stint, only really going off towards the end. Starting in the midfield towards the rear, you're going to start on the hard tyres. I think the maximum I would risk on the medium tyres would maybe be 8 laps, so pitting after 5 laps on the hard tyres. That's not going to be possible for everyone. But if you're really getting massively held up in the midfield or towards the rear, then you've got to try something. There's no point just holding on to lap number 6 and then moving on to the hard tyres. You're just going to be losing too much time in that early stages of the race. I would much rather pit early, get the advantage of the medium tyres, and then kind of play it a little bit more tactical towards the end. So that's my advice if you're starting on the hard tyres. I see far too many drivers doing extra laps on the hard tyres, absolutely ingrained in traffic, losing 3-4 seconds a lap, where if they just pitted a little bit earlier, got on those medium tyres, got some space, put in some fast laps, yes, you're going to be suffering towards the end, but you will lose less time on those worn tyres using a bit of tactical driving, maybe letting a couple of drivers that are quicker than you through, then you're going to lose battling like cats and dogs in the midfield. So with that said, let's move on to the lap guide. So heading down towards turn number 1 in these Group 2 cars, we're going to hit about 180 miles an hour. Looking for the grandstand on the left. The outer edge of the grandstand is a good marker into turn number 1. Collect that apex, be careful not to hit the AstroTurf on the exit, get the car nice and straight and on the power down towards turn number 2. Braking between the 100 metre board and the 50 metre board, a kind of orange bollard there, it's quite a good marker. Clip the apex on the inside, don't go run wide on the outside, you'll pick up a half-second penalty. Round 100R here, you just want to be feathering the throttle, try not to use the brake. Into turn number 4, there's another orange bollard on the left hand side, so the right hand side is your marker. Always feel like you've got to brake a little bit earlier for that corner, concentrate on the exit a bit more because that leads you on to the back straight and down towards the chicane. The Dunlop sign is my marker into the chicane. I keep it in second gear to try and look after the tyres. Probably braking a little bit earlier into that corner, try and get the car as straight as possible through all these this part of the section. As you go round these kind of hairpins, there is a little bump on the crest of them, so if you get the throttle too early there, you will upset the back of the car and it will see you spin off, so do be careful of that. Into the last corner, you've got the orange marker on the inside of the right barrier. That's a good marker for there. I always struggle with this corner, generally take far too shallow a line, and I can't get on the throttle early enough because of that bump on the crest. That's a lap of Fuji International Speedway in the Nissan GTR. The brake balance was at -2, so hopefully there's been some helpful or useful information into there to get you started, and hopefully there's been some useful and helpful information throughout the guide. I quite enjoy this race. I know we've been here many times before. Times 13 tyrewear does look a bit scary, but for some reason it does actually kind of work. And it can be quite an entertaining race. With that longer pit stop, it will bring a slightly different element to it than we've had before. Let's see how it plays out. As I said, I'm quite looking forward to it. I think we might even be streaming this one today, so do look out for that if you can. If not today, we will be streaming on the Tuesday, so hopefully you can join me for that one. Anyway, all that's left to say is please do hit that like button, please do hit that subscribe button if you like what I'm doing on the channel, and thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you on the next one. Goodbye now.